Post which, if you clear the first round, you go to CPSS. CPSS is where you actually sit in a simulator with a screen, with a joystick, with two rudder pedals, with a headphone, and with a couple of light and audio cues. So light cues as in, so you do I think 15 tests, you get one trial and three actual rounds. So it's about your psychomotor skills. How is your hand-eye leg coordination whilst under pressure? Here pressure is basically when you have headphones, there's a very feeble audio cue. And when you hear that, you got to press on the joystick while performing the task given to you.
Okay, so good morning and a very warm welcome to all the viewers here. And today we are in the very first session of success interviews that are being taken by CULT SSB. And today, the very first person that we have with us is Mr. Siddharth. So, a very warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on this platform.
Okay, so a brief introduction to you about you to the viewers. You have given three. So has given three SSB interviews earlier. He was recommended twice, and he was conferenced out in the very second time. And so, sir, I would like to start with the interview. Okay, so
Sure.
first tell me the first tell the viewers what is the basic background of yours. Can you tell in a brief way to them?
Right, sure. So, hi, welcome all here. So, my name is Siddharth. I was born and raised in Bangalore. My entire schooling was done in Bangalore. Post which I did my BTech from Tamil Nadu, from the Institute of Technology. Post which I started giving my graduation entries. I hadn't given my NDA and stuff. So, in 2021 March is my first SSB attempt for Navy pilot, and I was recommended, cleared CPSS. Unfortunately, I had a couple of medical issues in my spine, which you know I couldn't join the forces for the same reason. And post which in the month of December 2021, I gave my second attempt in Bhopal. I was conferenced out, and fortunately, in my third attempt in earlier this year, in the month of June, is when I gave my third attempt. I was recommended from Visakhapatnam, cleared medical, and I'm waiting to join the forces in a couple of days.
Okay, sir. So now please tell us what was the basic motivation or the turning point that made you decide that yes, the forces is the place that you would be going.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So, it happens to be that my dad is an ex-serviceman. He served in the army for 18 years, but I never grew up as an army brat. So my dad never forced me or even asked me if I wanted to join the forces. And I had no, to be very honest, I had no, I wasn't inclined towards it for a long period of time. When I joined my BTech, I had a friend who coincidentally wanted to join the forces, wanted to be a pilot and stuff. So she kind of inspired me and motivated me to take this decision as well, because I always wanted to be a pilot. I've seen all the Aero India shows in Bangalore, and it's very fascinating for me how they ride an aircraft. So wanted to be the pilot was the first push, and luckily I had a friend in my BTech who also had the same vision in life. So that's where the seed was sown, I guess. So I started giving these attempts after my graduation only. Until then, I had I wasn't aware, I was inclined towards this. And why the forces? To be very honest here, I'll just be like very, very honest here. So, like any other job, I feel like in a particular job, if you're going to a particular company, right? So you should grow, and so should the company grow because of you. It's got to be mutual, and that only happens if you have the skill to survive there, and the company sees you as an asset. So end of the day, I am patriotic, yes, but am I joining the forces because of patriotism? Not really, because if you're patriotic, you can still contribute to the growth of the country in many ways. You could be a doctor, you could work in an MNC and improve the foreign direct investment. So you can still contribute to the country. Or why the forces? The simple answer would be I like the job description. I saw that I felt that's something I could do. Simple as that. I thought I had a skill to be there, and yeah. So I like the job description like any other company. I thought I could grow and I could help the place grow as well. So simple as that.
A very rational and a very good answer to that. So now we have seen that in SSB, the place where most of the candidates fall out is the screening round. Like because 80 to 90% in average cases, candidates get screened out. So, but you, in your case, you have been screened in three times. So, what do you think had made the difference for you? What is the points that you always kept in mind while being at the screening?
At screening in, so I see the most important test is PPT. OIR is just formality. All of us are, at least all of us are 12th graduation entry. So we are expected to have some basic kind of logical reasoning. So the make or break point is your PPT. And again, I believe you could write preferably relevant stories, but even if your story is not that relevant, if you have some solid action points, that should save your story. End of the day, your screening in is decided by your narration. 1 minute narration is your time. Everyone's listening to you. You get 1 minute undivided attention, so you got to make the best use of it. I do understand that many people have limitations in communication stuff. So you not have need to have use you don't need to use the most fanciest of words out there. Just use simple English and just get your points across in the most confident way possible. So that's it. Simple English, confident, and just got to be. That's 1 minute. You got to own that minute. Simple as that. You own that minute. I mostly you're going to get screened in because all they want to see is if you have the ability in you to survive 4 more days. So that 1 minute is yours. So to be better here, what I do personally, so one tip of mine would be so after you write a story, you get a break, a refreshment break. So most of us are going to go out, chit chat, gossip, and waste time. So what I do is I go sit alone and I recollect the story and all the points. I add a point, I improve the vocabulary, and recollect the story and keep narrating within my head. I don't talk to people then. I sit alone, 15 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, whatever it is. In Vizag, it took 2 hours. So 2 hours, I kept recollecting the story. So by the time you go inside the room, it's kind of second instinct for you. Like the story is just in the tip of your fingers. So you just got to stand out. I mean, sit out, look at everyone confidently. You know the story by heart, and yeah, just narrate it. That's the make or break point.
Okay. And now moving forward to the psychological tests. So there's a lot of myth or say a lot of controversy going around the psychological test. People, some say we should practice it beforehand, some say we should not. But you have been through this 3 times. So what is your take on all these psychological tests? What are the points that you would give to any person that he or she should keep in mind while going forward with it?
Right. So from my perspective, the entire SSB is a psychology test. So all the 16 tests are there to check your psychology if you're there, if you're fit for the forces or not. Now, specifically talking about psych tests, the STAT, VAT, SRT, and STT. Um, can you just repeat your question? I'm sorry, kind of
Okay, so I said like,
lost it.
what were the points that you kept in mind and would advise anybody
Right.
to keep in mind while going through these tests?
Right. So while going through these stats, let me just quickly break them down into individually and talk about TAT, VAT, SRT, STT. So TAT, so you get 4 minutes in your hand. So that's a lot of time. So my story structure is basically the first line, the first 1 or 2 lines, I'm introducing the hero and the problem. It's established. I don't want to waste time introducing who the hero is, what the problem is. Just in 1 or 2 lines, it's done, it's established. And the last line is conclusion as to if the problem was solved or not. In most cases, it should be solved. So the middle 80% is going to be action points, solid action points, logical, and what do you say? No, logical action points, solid ones that come one after the other in a logical sequence as well. So yeah, for example, a blood donation action point would be from start to end, from planning the blood donation to refreshment of the donor. So end to end you're covering. So that shows that how you're thinking and stuff. So for TAT, it's basically how you're able to relate in personal life. Put yourself in the place of the hero, and then solve the problem as to whatever you would do. So that's for TAT, and more focus on more emphasis on action points than other stuff. And for VAT again, you don't get much time there. You get 15 seconds for a word to look at the screen, turn back the paper, write, and be ready for the next word. So keep your sentences short. Just keep your sentences as short as possible. 2 words, 3 word sentences are totally fine. The third one is SRT. Again, you don't have a timer as such, but if you break down 30 minutes, 60 SRTs, 30 seconds each SRT on average. So that's not a lot. So the difference between TAT and SRT stands here. TAT is what and how you'll do. So if there's a fire in the house, what you'll do, you'll extinguish the fire. How you'll extinguish the fire? You call the ambulance, fire brigade, save people, try to douse the fire, all those points. Whereas in SRT, you're just going to write what you're going to do. I'm least interested to know how you're going to do that. That's my take again. different people could have different perspectives. For me, if there's a SRT that says there's a building, there's a fire in your house, what are you going to do? You're just going to say extinguish it. Save people, I mean, move people to rescue people, extinguish it. That's it. 4 words done, SRT, next SRT. So I'm least interested to tell them how I'm going to extinguish it. That's not what they ask me to do. So that's how I keep my SRT simple. And this helps me do more SRTs. I'll get back to that in a while. And SDT is fairly just generic answers. Again, though SDT is very generic in questions, so you got to get it out of your system. Like, what's your personal opinion? Just don't give single word answers. Like, try to elaborate it. If you're hardworking, just don't say hardworking, comma, self motivating. Just don't keep going like that. Tell them I'm hardworking because so and so in my life I've put the work required, and hence that validated that I'm a hardworking person. So when you get personal, that's when they get the connect. So that's about psychology, but just a quick tip about SRTs and stuff. People say, hey, my friend just wrote 30 SRTs, 30 VAT, he got recommended. You have no idea how he performed in his interview. You have no idea how he performed in other places. So if they're giving you 60, they expect you to do 60. Otherwise, they would give you 30. So in which case, if they're giving you 60, the target is 60 and do as many as you can. And by keeping it simple is how you can do as many as you can.
Okay, sir. So coming back to SDT, especially this is a test where you, as you have already told that the questions is already pre-known to the person, but the answer writing is quite intensive, because if you are writing about yourself, then firstly you should know yourself not only from your perspective but from others as well. So what do you think
Absolutely.
goes into this SDT? What a
Abs-
person can sorry, I said what goes into SDT. What do you think are the steps that a person should take to introspect himself from others perspective as well?
Simple. Straight up go to your parents and ask them what do you think about me. They're going to tell you your flaws. They've been with you all your life. My mom knows me inside out. She knows my flaws. But there are certain flaws that I cannot mention in an SSB interview that go against me. So try to eliminate those and mention the not so intensive ones. If my mom thinks I have anger management issues, I can't go write an SSB. I have anger management issues. They're going to chuck me out. So again, I'll get to that later. Like I said, I feel like SSB is basically a marketing campaign. You got to sell yourself. So you got to keep the negatives aside. Yes, keep the negatives there, but you can't be 100%. I'm just being very rational here. Not all of us have all 15 oil cues in place, right? So some of us have varying levels. So yeah, straight up, what I did is I straight up walked to my mom, like, what do you think about me? What do you think my positives are? Have I been a responsible son? And when do you feel I have been a responsible son? So I'm just not going to say I'm a responsible son and just come on next. My parents contact me. I mean, I'm going to ask them as to when exactly in their life they felt that I have been responsible. I'm going to include that in my SDT so that enhances the personal connect. So that's what I would do. I would ask my friends, I would ask my parents, and then so employers' opinion, at least for graduation entries. You have weekly HR meetings. They discuss about your performance. So you tick that and right over there. Simple as that. And self-introspection is something that needs to be there. You've got to be your hardest critique. You've got to dive deep and split yourself into individual segments and then analyze yourself. So that's about it. I feel like got to be very honest there. Not very honest. Be very honest to know about yourself and know what to write. Simple as that. You got to position yourself so they see you give them what they want to see, and also you can't be 100% brilliant person. You have flaws in you as well. You're human after all. So mention that as well. Simple.
Okay, so now moving forward to one of the very interesting parts of SSB, that is the personal interview. So,
Yeah.
what? Firstly, I would like you to tell us what was your experience, some interesting thing when some happening thing that happened in your interview, and what are your tips that a person should keep in mind, because there is, of course, there's grilling, there's nervousness, there is a snap of thoughts in mind. So what is your tip to the people hearing us?
Right. So personal interview experience and tips. So let me start off with how my experience has been. I personally love giving interviews. I love people listening to talk to me because if someone's investing the time to hear me out, that's their investment. I'm going to respect that and be my best there. So how I look at an interview, yes, it's an SSB interview or a person of brigadier rank is sitting there and taking over, presiding over your interview. It's a lot of nervousness there, but end of the day, they're getting paid to do that, right? It's just going to be a very formal interaction rather than an interview where someone's firing questions at you and you are at the firing end and trying to shoot out answers. I would rather see it as a very formal interaction, right? So go with that mindset. You're just talking to anyone. If I were to stop you on the road and ask you questions about you, how you would answer me the same thing I would answer to the SSB interviewing officer. It's just a little more formal in everything in nature, how you behave, how you talk, etc. So when you have this, this is how you think, that's 50% nervousness already gone. The remaining 50% comes from your preparation. It's very important to prepare what you're going to speak as well. Everything in your PIQ has got to be in the tip of your fingers. You need to know everything you mentioned there. That's extremely important. And in terms of tips, like I said, try to interact with the interviewer, try to get on a personal level. So I've been lucky enough to have had interviewers who are fairly chill with me. So there have been times that I've actually, to be very honest, cracked a joke or two in my first interview. My first interviewing officer, he's like, I'm new to Bangalore and I'm from Bangalore. Where will you take me? I'm like, sir, what do you want to do? If you want to have a drink or something, we can go to MG Road and go to Koramangala somewhere and go to a nearby pub. That's what you want to do. When you get that personal, they kind of, it's breaking the ceiling, right? So that's why establish a personal connection if you can. Not all interviewing officers are going to be that easy on you. Some are going to be strict. In that case, please don't even try establishing personal connect. That's going to fire against you. So that's my main tip. To get rid of the nervousness, 50% comes from the fact that you think of it as a casual informal interaction, and the remaining 50% comes from your preparation. See, they can ask you anything and everything under the sun. You're human too. You can ask the interviewing officer a question. There's high chances he may not know something you know. So they don't expect you to answer all the questions, but they just want to know how you tackle if you can't answer the question. So that's how, I mean, you still got to be confident. You still have to show the officer like qualities and be like, so you can't expect me to know every question, every answer to every question. So I'm going to be like, yes, I'm sorry, I'm not aware. I'll get back to you. Or try thinking of it logically. Simple as that. So, yeah, that's my biggest tip. Again, I like giving interviews, so that's something I really like doing. And personal interview is one of the better tests of my SSB compared to Psych and GTO. So if I want to summarize quickly, it's about going inside the room, thinking of it like a casual interaction. I'm just going to talk to an officer about me. He's not asking about anything else, right? He's asking about you. You know about you. So you just got to position yourself and let them know what you think about yourself. So that's how it is. And obviously GK and stuff, you got to work on it. I'm not good at GK, so I had to work on it and stuff. And some one interesting incident would be so my first interview. Like I said, my dad used to serve in the army, so he was in the EME unit. I mentioned this to the officer, and he asked me, "Okay, so Dad, do you know where the headquarters of EME is?" And I had no idea. And I said, "So my dad served in the following places, so I'm hoping one of them is the headquarters." I said Chennai, Bangalore, for no good reason. I wasn't aware. I said, "So I think my dad served in Chennai and Bangalore, so one of them could be the headquarters." And he just smiled at me and just, "Okay, cool." I come back, I call my dad, I ask him where's the headquarters. He says Secunderabad and Bhopal. I gave two unrelated cities as, but I was very confident in doing so because I had some logic behind it. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I'm just saying. So that's a funny incident where I gave a completely unrelated answer so confidently like I meant it. So somewhere that, yeah, that's a funny incident for me. So yeah, that's about it.
Okay. So, sir, as in your case, that it might have happened that you would have been questioned, like you've been recommended before, but you have been conferenced out in the very second time. So, what was the mindset that you took with you into the SSB and especially into the interview that these questions would be coming up for you? And how did you prepare for that? Because people do sometimes see this as a setback, and it is a point where the interview tries to screw you. So, what was your comeback to
Absolutely.
it?
Again, it's a very generic answer, self-introspection, but you do it properly. So after my second time conferenced out, my biggest I felt like my second attempt I was better in my psych and GTO, but somewhere my interview fell absolutely flat. So I had to sit down and be like, what's wrong with me? And the first thing I could come across is my GK, which is I'm going to accept my flaws. I'm not that well versed with general knowledge in current affairs. That's because I don't get the, I never invested an amount of time to know about it. So a lot of questions were asked, which I couldn't answer to. So I had to sit down and be like, hey, so GK is vast. I possibly can't learn everything in 3 or 6 months. But then I can start off by interacting with people. There have been people from this own CULT SSB who I've spoken to, Pallav and stuff. I just talk to them, they help me with whatever knowledge they have, and you start imbibing knowledge, just taking in as much as you can. So when you're preparing in a short term for current affairs, you can't know it all. You just know it on a very superficial level. Yes, this is what it is. This is what it is. This is what it is. Why is it happening? I have no idea. This is happening. In this country, this is happening. In this country, this is happening. So I started to imbibe as many information as I can from people I speak to. I know my limitations. Like I just simply can't sit and read the newspaper. That's something I can't do. So I go to YouTube. When I'm traveling, when I'm driving, I plug in my earphones and listen to news and lectures and stuff. So that's what I did for my third interview. So I could see some improvements. Yes, even my third interview, there were questions I couldn't answer to, but then there were way more improvements in terms of current affairs and GK when it came to my third SSB compared to my second SSB. And to me, that's what made the difference. That's what made the difference. Yeah. So if you were to ask me current affairs right now on this call, you may know more than I do, but that's how it is because I haven't gone back there. But then that's something very consciously I put effort for my third interview. So that's what helped me. So that's what helped me. Simple as that. Because I knew my strengths. I'm going to bank on my strengths. I'm going to bank on my strengths. I knew my strengths in first, second, and third. It's just that I had to address my weakness, which I did for my third, and hence I was able to overcome that fear of, maybe low self-confidence or whatever it is.
Okay. So, sir, now coming forward to the GTO part, which is
Mm-hmm.
one of the hugest part of the entire SSB, taking nearly 2 to 3 days. So, what has been your experience of it? Firstly, please do tell us.
GTO does give you the fear. It's a group task. You're one among the group. You don't get individual attention, so you got to really be at your best for other people to notice you. So going from individual GD and GP and stuff, it's all about taking initiatives. It's all about taking initiatives, moderating. People tend to go all out and be like shout, 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 shout. What's the point? Just take a back seat then and just chill and enjoy. Let them speak, and when you get a chance to speak, you speak. Try moderating the group. Like please, gentlemen, oh, cadets, please calm down. Let's go one at a time. Let's have a civil discussion. It's not a debate. You try doing all that if you can't speak. And again, that's about it. GP is also about me taking initiatives and trying to be the final speaker who's going to summarize all the points. So that gives you an added bonus point. And also, a lot of times people will not consider your opinion if your opinion is not backed by logic. So in GP, if you're telling me you want to do a certain action, tell me the logic behind it. And if I like the logic, I'm going to support you. Even if I know your logic is better and not supporting you, that's going to go against me. So simple as that. Your GP, if you have logic backing your actions, the group is going to come on your path. So that's simple. And in terms of actual ground tasks, it's again, if you have the idea, do it. Try finding ideas. To be very honest with you, I wasn't the best at it. I had to struggle a few times, but then it's constantly trying to learn from everyone what they're doing, how they're building the cantilever structure, load, effort, everything, trying to understand those principles. But to me, one test that I really consider important is snake race that not many people take it seriously. People think it's a fun thing between a couple of groups. That snake race is where they're going to test so much of your officer-like qualities. So this is that's a very personal thing. I don't tell people, but let me break it out here. So a snake race has 6 obstacles. Right. You have a war cry. You have a war cry. So the first 3 obstacles. Have you been to SSB, Ishita? I
Yes, I
suppose you
have
have.
been.
A conference?
Oh, yes, I have been conscious.
Yeah. So in secret, you would have noticed that you have a war cry.
Yeah,
So by the time you reach the 4th obstacle, how many of you are still shouting the same war cry? Not
not
many.
many. Yeah.
But if you do shout, that shows that you're still trying to motivate the group. You're trying to be a leader and take the group forward. So you got to conscious they're giving it for a reason, right? So by the fourth attempt, everyone is tired. So I tend to start last. The first three obstacles, everyone has enough energy to go by themselves. The last three obstacles, when they start to group's model starts dropping down, and that's where I step up as a leader and be like, I'm going to shout the war cry. I'm going to come right in the front and set the pace. I'm going to drive the team to the finish line. So that's where you can actually show what you're made of. Because the quote, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. The first obstacles, everyone had enough energy. And the last three obstacles, when the energy falls down, that's when you can show what you're made of. So simple as that. So yeah, like I said, I'll eventually come to it, how to go about an SSB. But yeah, GTOs, that's all about it. Again, command task is to show your intellect and stuff, individual obstacles. I've seen people who are fairly overweight who do not do more than 7 individual obstacles and yet recommended because the weight can be reduced, but the courage in you, that can't be changed. It's how you face the obstacle. Your physical limitations, they know, army, they'll train you for that. But it's how you face the obstacles. Are you going all out for 3 minutes? Are you attacking, 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 attacking? That's what they want to know. So it's again simple as those. That's more or less what my tip for GTO would be. Yeah,
So moreover, what I can get of all what have you have told till now, SSB is more about what is inside of you and cannot be seen. Right, right.
yeah, it's showcasing that. It's
Okay.
getting it. See, either it's got to be natural and coming out. So you can't really force it. You can't force it for 5 days. You can't pretend to be another person for 5 days. So you got to have it in you, but you just got to know how to put it across in a way it can be seen very proactively. So that's what SSB is about.
Okay. So next moving forward to in GT only. So we have seen the COVID period, right? And in that time, not much of the coachings were available, and there are still people who do not opt for coaching. So in case of GTO, so what is your tip that what a person can do on his personal level so that they can prepare for GTO from home and without coaching?
Okay, to be very honest, I did take the help of a couple of people to learn about GTO, the entire cantilever principle, something I learned from someone else. So where do you place load? Because I tried reading from a book and it just went over my head. I couldn't understand anything. It's a very popular book out there. It just went over my head. There were so many different permutation combination. I couldn't understand anything at all. So I had to take a couple of help from my friends who've been there, who've done that, who've been recommended and stuff. So at home without coaching, I would just you got to rely on YouTube. There are a couple of very genuine channels that teach you about how to go about GTO and forget YouTube. YouTube, I mean, everyone who has an account can make a video. So you know what cantilever is. Just go type cantilever principle. It's going to show you in pictures how to go about it. You try understanding it theoretically and then put it into practical use. You have load, you have effort, and you need a fulcrum. So you got to either make the fulcrum or keep the plank on a fulcrum or try to make the load or something like that. You just got to make something if it's not existent. So if you don't really get access to coaching and stuff, I would suggest that learn it theoretically and start applying it practically in your day to day. Just start looking around your house. Like if I have sofa in front of me, where can I put the plank inside? Where can I create the load? Where can I create the effort? Start seeing it around you so that becomes second hand for you, second instinct for you.
Okay, sir. So with that, we come to the CPSS test. So this is the test that people do not know much about, but you have given it twice. So please do tell us about what it is and what is your experience of it.
Right. Firstly, I given CPSS once. So
Okay.
CPSS is computerized pilot server selection. You get it once in your lifetime to do it. Unlike SSBs where you have multiple attempts until your age bar, CPSS you clear a flying entry, you get one chance to crack it. If you crack it, great, you go for pilot medicals. If you don't crack it, ground medicals. Once in a lifetime, it's done. So that's exactly why CPSS is way harder than it sounds. So yeah, CPSS comes in two parts. Let me break it down. So first is PABT, Pilot Aptitude Battery Test. And the next is CPSS, Computerized Pilot Service Selection. So PABT is basically not collecting the exact six measurements, but every aircraft has six main measurements like banking, the altitude, uh, the and nose up, nose down, if it's is it diving or if it's taking off, six measurements. So you are taught how the six measurement works and how you're supposed to read the measurements, and they give you different scenarios, and you got to figure out the orientation of the plane during flight. So that's what PABT is about, and PABT also has a logical reasoning like your OIR. Post which, if you clear the first one, you go to CPSS. CPSS, where you actually sit in a simulator with a screen, with a joystick, with two rudder pedals, with a headphone, and with a couple of light and audio cues. So light cues, as in, so you do I think 15 tests. You get one trial and three actual rounds. So it's about your psychomotor skills. How is your hand-eye leg coordination whilst under pressure? Here, pressure is basically when you have headphones. There's a very feeble audio cue, and when you hear that, you got to press on the joystick while performing the task given to you. And also at the same time, have visual cues. You have an amber color and a red color light. And again, while performing the task given to you, if one of them comes on, you got to turn it off. So it's basically they're putting you through stress to understand how your skills work. So if you're a gamer, you're supposed to be good at it. That's what they say. And I was never a gamer. So everyone who I spoke to before I took my CPSS told me CPSS was very easy. And I have no idea why they told me that, because it's the most hardest time of my life. I can clearly say I enjoy doing SSBs more than CPSS, because I did it in Mysore in an air-conditioned room for 1.5 hours. I woke up and my shirt was wet, completely wet. You could see through it. That's what the anxiety and panic I had to go through 1.5 hours was extremely, extremely traumatic, very stressful. But then you are bound to, I'm not going to tell them it's very easy and stuff, but yeah, you get 3 attempts to do your best. I have no idea how, you just got to do your best. Just try doing the tasks. Sometimes it's about placing a ball inside a square. Sometimes it's about, this is a very funny test. On this hand, there'll be colors like yellow, green, red, blue, and all. On this hand side, yellow will be written in red, red will be written in yellow, and you got to mix and match and stuff. So it's very complicated. You got to understand it firstly, what it is about, what they're asking you to do so, and try getting better at each attempt. Because you really can't prepare for it. There's no coaching that prepares you for CPSS, because even the board keeps changing it. So yeah, it's once in a lifetime experience. So the worst part is it's once in a lifetime experience. So you mess it up, you don't get another chance at it. So the officer is going to come and tell you this. Okay, gentlemen, you do it once, you crack it, you're a pilot, or else you aren't. And that's going to put you in a loop. You're going to start thinking, or you're going to start getting anxious and stuff. So I would stay as calm as possible. I understand it won't be possible, but stay as however calm you can be, and keep getting better with each attempt so that you have the best score there. Thing is, you do the task, you get +1 points. If you fail to do the task, or if you do the task incorrectly, you get -1. So it's either +1 or -1 with every chance you do it there. So if you keep the ball inside the square, it's +1. If you do not keep the ball inside the square, it's -1. There'll be certain rules. If the ball touches this, it's -1. That's also -1. So sometimes at end of the attempt, you will have a negative score, and you're going to freak out again. So again, no, you can't freak out. There are 15 tests. There are 4 attempts each test. So you just got to keep looking forward to the next attempt and be a better performance. That's simple as that. Not very simple. Don't take it for granted. Whoever's seeing this video, please don't take it for granted. People will tell you it's simple, but it's not simple. It's nowhere close to simple. There were 15 of us, and all of us were freaked out equally. So yeah, that's it. Be prepared for it, but it's a great experience. It's the second best thing to flying an aircraft, because you're sitting in a simulator.
That's amazing. So, sir, you, as I've mentioned earlier, that you got recommended once, then conferenced out, then recommended again. So, what was the major difference that you found between the attempt that you were conferenced out in the second one and the ones that you were recommended in? Something that you personal level on felt that yes, that could be the difference that made me recommend or not.
Right. Again, it's a very funny story. This one, the first time I got recommended, I took it for granted. I thought, "Arey, what is there in this? It's easy. Why are people, making such a huge drama around SSB? That's so tough, so difficult." it's very natural for me to do so because the first time I got recommended, I didn't know the pain behind what goes behind the recommendation, and I kind of took it for granted. And when I was conferenced out, and that's when it hit me that real, see, it's not something that's given to you. You got to earn it. The first time it felt like it's my birthright to get recommended. The second time I felt like come back to ground. It's not something you can take for granted. You got to put in the efforts. And I realized, to be very honest, I did not put the efforts the second time. I thought, yeah, first time I recommended, they won't test me properly. They just push me again. It wasn't the case. It just got harder. If at all anything, it just gets harder with every attempt. So you have more experience. So yeah, the personal learning is not to take things for granted and actually sit down and put the efforts required. You put the effort required and fail, no one's going to question you. But you don't put the effort in the first place, that's wrong. That's my learning.
Okay.
Put effort, fail, it's fine. But without putting effort, wanting to succeed, that's never going to happen.
Okay, so, sir, and I'll be coming to the questions which will be based on not only SSB but of your learning of it. So, out of these three SSBs, what do you think is the learning or the change that you could see in yourself? What are the new perspective that you opened up for yourselves?
But that's a interesting question. Can I get back to this question in another call? I'll just think about it till then.
Okay, no problem with that. Okay, so there would be some any motto or any life mantra that you live by. Okay, so what is that for you?
Life mantra. Okay, that is so that's how I've been for the last couple of years, one day at a time. So a lot of us in life, in SSB, in your personal professional career, people think about either they're worried about the past or they're so concerned about the future that we fail to live in the present.
Okay.
So it's just one day at a time. Yeah, you got to prepare for the future, have a goal in mind, etc., etc., etc. But then you can't be so stuck with it that your present is ruined. So one day at a time, you wake up, today goes well, great. Go to sleep happily, tomorrow wake up and deal with your problems. So I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do, but this is how I work. And it's worked fairly good for me. To each their own. For me, that's how it works. And I'm going to the academy in 3 days. And I've heard a lot about the academy, how it's going to be, how hard it's going to be. 22 weeks. For me, it's not 22 weeks, it's each day at a time. Today I survive, happy. Tomorrow I'll survive again. So one day at a time is my life mantra. And getting back to your other question as to my perspective change over the course of three SSBs is again, always going to be someone better than you in every facet of life. There's always going to be someone better than you and someone not as good as you. And the moment you start comparing yourself with other ones, that's when your downfall starts. And that's something I noticed in a lot of SSBs because sometimes people don't expect me to get recommended because I'm not the most vociferous guy. I'm not talking always. I'm not interacting always. They feel like, okay, this guy is just there. He's doing his own work. But then there'll be these people in your SSPs who have been to so many SSPs that say, oh, that both this happens, this both this happens, you do that, you get recommended, you do this, you get recommended. And at the day, it comes down to you. This comes down to you. They're going to be people better than you, but that's not what matters. You put the effort genuinely, whatever you require, you think you feel is required, you put that kind of effort, and you are bound to get that eventually someday in your life. So don't compare yourself with the other person. Just compare yourself with your own self. Just try to be a better person every single day. And these OLQs, if you follow them in your life, even beyond the world of SSBs, it'll still help you to be a better person, lead your family in a better way and stuff. So yeah, just constantly compare yourself with, be the best version you can be, and do not try being very competitive with other people. Because I know my limitations. There's so many people out there who put twice, 10 times the effort that I do from SSB in terms of current affairs, in terms of knowledge, in terms of practice, etc. But end of the day, it comes down to me banking on my own strengths and trying to cover my weakness. So just keep it with you, work on yourself, regardless of what's happening around. That's something I learned over the course of three SSBs.
So, now coming to the final question of the session, that is, what are the basic qualities or the basic things that you think on your behalf, on personal level, that a person should have in terms to get through SSB?
Right. I'm not going to give a generic answer like OLQs and stuff that all of us are pretty much aware of. Yes, that's what that matters. But this is something I'm going to take you through how I work, what I feel about an SSB. So yeah, this is a preconceived answer, so this will be very, what do you say? It's already there in my mind. I tell everyone this. So for me, SSB is a marketing campaign. Like every company has a product. They're trying to sell it. Lifebuoy tells you it kills 99.9% of the germs. So they are focusing on killing so many germs, but they aren't focusing on what they don't do. Likewise, you're the product, you got to sell yourself. You got to proactively tell them or show them to the officers what they want to see. If they want to see you taking initiatives, if they want to see if you have initiating capacity in you, you have to proactively show to them. But how do you show to them matters as well, right? You can't go to interview like SciTech initiatives. No, you show it in your GP, you show it in your GDs, you show it in your GTOs that you are the one who takes the initiative first or tries to. You be the first speaker, second speaker, third speaker. If you can't be the third speaker, you don't force yourself. You don't be like, I want to be a speaker. No, you take a back seat. You let other speakers speak. That's when you show you have cooperation, adaptability, responsibility. So you constantly the old cues got to be keep running in your mind, and you want to show to them out there. Just got to present yourself like a product. Simple as that. Like every company sells their product, right? You got to sell yourself. Simple as that. Sometimes you cannot be very true. You cannot be like, sir, I have anger management issues. They're gonna be like, okay, bye. I'm going to come back. So you got to know what to say and not, yeah. See, again, in the officers there have flaws. It's just that once we get there, we'll work on it. We'll deal with it. For now, work like a marketing campaign. Proactively show what they want to see. You know what they want to see. So proactively show them that and get personal, connect with them. When you're telling them something, when you're writing in your FTT or telling in an interview what are your strengths, you tell them some self-motivating, comma, discipline, comma, punctual, comma, industrial. No. Some self-motivating because so on. You don't even have to mention self-motivating. You can tell them a story from your life, and the essence of it will be that you're self-motivated. So without telling them actually self-motivating, you're giving them an anecdote from your life, and they'll get it from it. So just get personal, talk about yourself, just keep talking about yourself. I mean, who's going to give you 1 hour of their time? No one is going to give you free 1 hour of their time. And when they're doing that willingly, take 100% use of it and talk about yourself as much as you can. Get personal, talk about how low you've been, how you came back up, and that shows determination. So simple as that. Just get personal and yeah, talk more about yourself, for which you got to know more about yourself. So spend time with you.
Okay, sir. So, a very good piece of advice by you, not one, so many from your experience. Thank you so much for it. And yes, we look forward to hearing more experience from you when you come back from your academy. So, all the very best for that.
Sure. Sure. Thank you so much. And I mean, my best wishes to everyone going to see this video. I hope you'll eventually make it to the forces or in any facet of life. I hope you'll make it to the peak.
Okay, sir. So, thank you very much for being here with us.